All right, we're live. Thank you everybody for joining us. Welcome to the Progressive Parenting Hangout. Today we're talking to Sheila Pai. I want to thank you for joining us. I'm really excited about the Progressive Parenting Network. We're up to a lot of really great things. And we are bringing together a group of wonderful authors, speakers, experts on all things parenting. And what I love the most about the network is that the network is built to raise each other up, to help each other out. And I'm really excited about that whole idea. And I'm hoping to better learn how to communicate what the goals of progressive parenting are after my conversation today with Sheila. Uh, what do self-care and communication have to do with each other? For moms, dads, and passionate people, self-care and communication are intimately entwined. When we have mindful self-care, we communicate more effectively and compassionately. When we have connected communication, we can more effectively get our needs met. And most importantly, when these two anchors are in place, we can better care and do for others. And that sounds good to me. I'm really excited to learn more. But what does that really mean? So that's what we're going to get to here with Sheila. If you have questions during the call, please be sure to put them in the chat area. All right. Sheila, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everybody and let them know what it is that you do. I love how you explain it. I'm going to go ahead and let you do that right now.
So I'm Sheila Pai, and I have a living family coaching and community, and I'm a parenting and relationship and life coach with a focus on mindful self-care, co-parenting, and birth. So I'm excited today because I love focusing on that mindful self-care piece and leading into things like connected communication, which really can affect how parents experience parenting and their relationship. And my real focus today is to get people some insights and tips on how to bring that focus for themselves so that they can do what they really want to do, which is care for others better.
Awesome. So how do we this idea of connected communication, because I think people think, well, I'm already communicating. I don't understand how I can be any more connected. Like, what does that mean when you say connected communication?
Yeah, so I think we know what connected communication doesn't feel like. It's when there's that disharmony and there's a distance there, right? It doesn't feel, it's not a question of physical connection so much as an emotional and a mental connection where you can feel empathy for each other and you can feel that resilience within your relationship or within your parenting partnership with your child. And that connected communication is something that is incredibly forgiving, it's very flexible, and it's when we're consciously able to communicate with each other. And this moves us through these hard moments and with a feeling of togetherness, right? So this is the way that I work is very much practical, realistic, and also very simple and doable, because I know that these little things that we do make these bigger visions that we want come to pass. And so when we're able to consciously communicate and feel that togetherness through life's hard moments, because life is going to get hard. I mean, things are going to happen that are out of our control, and being able to feel that togetherness in the moment is what makes all the difference, whether it's with our child or our partner, or whether in our business, if we're a birth worker and you're working, you really want to get your passion and purpose out there. And to feel that togetherness and that connection when you're doing your work is what makes us all come alive.
So how do we get there? I mean, I like how you said we know what it isn't and what that feels like when that doesn't, when it's not happening. But how do we ensure that? And but you know what? Before you get to that, is what does self-care have to do with that? I think people I don't understand the connection between the self-care and the communication. So I'd rather touch on that first and then get into like how we're connected.
Yeah, and this is kind of one of the main points that I wanted to share with people today is when I'm working with parents, especially couples, on their relationship, you know, I find that there's so much, and all my work comes out of personal experience, so I'm never asking anybody to do anything that I haven't done, and I really focus on the fact that I'm not an expert. My real strength and purpose is to guide people into their own strength, wisdom, insight, power, all those things that they're really looking for, that clarity that they can move forward with. So what I realized working with couples, and mothers especially, is that when we're wanting to have better parenting, or we're wanting to have better communication in our partnership, or just better connection, a better relationship, then our focus tends to be on the other person, and we tend to have this feeling of frustration, feeling stuck, and simply with the fact that I can't change anybody else. I can't control all these other things. So we get into this spiral of feeling very powerless and helpless and out of control. And that's really not a place that we make decisions from that are in alignment with our vision and values, when we're, you know, choosing out of fear, that Krista was talking about in our sisterhood talk the other day.
Yeah.
You know, what does it mean to choose out of love is something that's like, sounds really great, and how do we actually do it? So I like that that focus on using what I do is nonviolent communication, using a 4-step process to connect with yourself first. So that mindful self-care piece for me. So mindful self-care for me means caring for yourself, which is beyond the physical. And it's caring about yourself, caring about my thoughts and my habits and my beliefs, and really knowing what my vision is, knowing what my values are, and being able to, with my own 2 hands and all the strength and intention of my body, mind, and heart, create a life that feels like it's thriving, you know, create a thriving me. And so when I talk with couples, that connected communication comes in, because I ask them to focus on themselves, because that's where they find all the shifts. You cannot, through your own self, make somebody else do anything. And what happens when we make other people do things, we know what happens when we make our kids do things, is that, you know, I love Dr. Rosenberg, who created nonviolent communication, that the language, and did so much research and work with it. But I love how he says, like, when you make somebody do things, he talks about his kids, like learning that from his kids, where you can make your kids do things, I realize, but then they'll make you wish that you hadn't made them do it, you know, and then it's like that.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a painful realization. I don't want my children to do things because I'm expecting obedience or enforcing obedience. I want these things because I believe in them, right? Or I want these things from my partner because I really need them, not because I'm expecting him to be any certain kind of way, but because I want these things. And so I really talk with, this would be my #1 tip to anybody about communication or about self-care, which I'm calling connected communication and mindful self-care, is to focus on you. What are you feeling? What are you needing? What is your purpose in communicating? What is your real sense of values? What do you really believe is a thriving life? And when I have that clarity, for me, it's around connection. It means everything to me. It's one of my deepest values. You'll see it through everything in a living family. Connection and community are everywhere through my work, because it's who I am. Like, it's a value that I have. And so I help parents find out what are their personal values. Another value of mine is ease. Love it. Love ease. Love flow. I love to feel and flow. I want my whole life to feel like that. And that's kind of where that book came from, is doing all this work with communication and doing all the work with mindful self-care with myself, realizing that this flow is a place that other people want to be, this place of flow that I'm cultivating, where I'm clear. There's so many decisions that we make as a parent, as a person, and all these conversations that we have, every little moment of communication that we have with our partner, it feels overwhelming. You know, it feels like an overwhelming task to have connected communication when there's all the craziness that ensues in real life. And yet, if I focus on the way that I do mindful self-care work or anything, it's very doable. It's very much on the moment. And finding that ease and flow within the moment is a huge value of mine. So when I know that, I can communicate differently. You know, your values might be different. Everybody's values are going to be different. But whatever they are, you can communicate from that place. It's a confident place. It's not powerless. It's not helpless. It's very self-empowered. Nobody can empower you. You can only empower yourself. It's very self-empowered and grounded. You can get a lot of traction out of it. So that's kind of how I work.
See, okay, so now I had like little glimpses of like, I've just had like 3 little teeny tiny epiphanies. But I say teeny tiny because I don't know how to like realize it.
Mm-hmm.
Where you were saying, like just being in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that looks like for me. Like, just kind of give you an idea. There's 4 kids in the house, and me and my husband, and the business and everything. And so at times it just feels like everything's happening all at once, and this person needs that, and the phone's ringing, and it's like crazy. It's just like my idea of insanity. How do I specifically get into that flow in that place where, like what you're describing to me is like moments in movies where everything like goes into slow motion and these people have like this clarity suddenly of what needs to be done. Like that sounds awesome. I want some of that. Like, how do I get me some of that flow? Like it sounds good, and I know I was listening to you. Like, how do I get that? How does that happen for me once I've decided that this is my one of my values, like with my core value? Like I want that. I want clarity of purpose. I want things. I want to be able to better communicate with my husband what my needs are, what the kids' needs are, in order for things to work. But how do I make that a reality for me?
Yeah.
If I'm communicating that correctly.
No. Yeah. Yeah. No judgment here. That I just want to make sure that I come across clear that when I say I'm in flow, I mean that I am more in flow than I ever have been, right? So I'm very much about presence over perfection, and this is not about, you know, me or anybody else being perfect, or, you know, me knowing something that somebody else can't do. This is really about my own personal journey of seeking presence, because it is one of the hardest things for me. So I've really trained my muscles in that area because I noticed that there is a struggle for me. So I just want to make sure that people understand that it takes effort through intention, right? So when you're feeling overwhelmed, what feels overwhelming is the effort that it would take to give all the 4 of your kids, each and every single one, the unique, purposeful love that each one of them needs, that you would love to give to them, to give that to your partner, and to give that to your business and all the hundreds and thousands of people that your business is touching, you know. And then there's whoever's calling on the phone, you know, there's like all these things happening, right? And yet that the real action that you could take that would be mindful self-care would be to sit down. Just to sit down and stop everything and focus on being just where you are in the moment, and that feeling the overwhelm, right? The overwhelm comes from the effort. If you focus on the intention, right? When you stop everything and you focus on your intention, what are you feeling? What are you needing? Just first observing what's going on, and then moving into your intention, which would be whatever. For me, it's ease, a lot of ease. I'm often saying peace and ease and peace and ease, because that's what I want to feel. You know, those are things that I want to feel more naturally. Those are natural grooves that I would like to create in my, I call it rewiring. You know, I would like to have this be my programming. It's not. From growing up, it's not necessarily my programming to sit and stop and be, and, you know, value presence over I call it value being over doing. You know, there's very much a value on doing in my growing up, and in most of the messages in society, there's a value on doing. There's not so much encouragement to be, and so it does take some effort, and I need to keep reminding myself with intention that this is a value that I have. So when I stop, I feel the overwhelm, just feeling that. Allowing yourself to be present with yourself. Here's the interesting part about mindful self-care that a lot of people don't get, because we talked about how people think it's a manicure, a pedicure, a massage. You know, it's about going on a vacation, be in a hotel all by yourself and no kids and no family and
That's
no house.
Everybody thinks self-care
is. It would be so grand. You know, I'm sure it would, but it's the feeling. It creates a feeling of improbability, impracticality. It creates this idea. It comes from a belief that self-care is impractical and selfish and unimportant, and really it's vital. I talk about a metaphor of watering the garden where you know, if you have a watering can or a hose and you have somebody else in your neighbor's garden is over there, it's all thriving, or everybody's garden around you is thriving, and you're watering everybody else's garden, taking so much tender care of all these. Look at how thriving everybody is. Everybody's so good around me, all my kids, right? And every time they're not thriving, we take it really personally, and we spiral into shame about how bad we are as mothers or how bad we are as a partner. Look how bad everything is. And really, we look at our own garden, there's nothing going on. It's totally withered, totally depleted and dry. There's no encouragement to turn the watering can on ourselves. And what happens is that feeling, and this happens in our relationships, these are where these two things are connected, is then I start looking at my partner like, how come you keep watering your garden all the time? Why don't you water my, you know, you're not taking any care of me. I need more care, and I need this, and I need that. You know, and then you see that in relationships. It becomes about how much I do versus how much you do, and how much you take versus how much I take. And it's a scarcity model. It's scarcity. Oh, my goodness, the pain that comes from scarcity. And instead, to feel present with yourself means everything to you. When you're able to water that garden, can you imagine your garden is thriving? You have harvest, a full harvest to give constantly. It's never not enough. And look at that, you got enough water to give everybody else. How exciting is that? You know, it's like there's no lack here. There's no lack here. It's all abundance of nurturing care.
You know, I talk about scarcity and abundance so much in the work that I do as a doula, as a speaker, talking about birth, and I'm always talking about, you know, living in abundance as a birth worker, and that there's enough for everyone, and never having thought that to apply that to my life as a parent, as a mother, only thinking about it in terms of professionally, and truly believing that there is enough for everyone. I really do believe that, and living in abundance and not living in scarcity. And I've seen the pain that living in scarcity can cause professionally in the birth world. But not turning that. And when you're saying that to me right now, I feel foolish going, oh yeah, like, oh wow, what a concept. I mean, I was just about to burst into tears there, thinking like, wow, how often have we done that? How often am I guilty of living in so much scarcity in my own home, in my own life, but not in like a professional sense, but when I'm in the house and thinking about my sad little withered garden as I'm desperate. Trying to get everybody else's taken care of, and it makes so much sense, but I needed to hear it in that context.
And I will say honestly that there is a little moment of grief that comes. I wouldn't say it's little. It would probably be ongoing. Because part of it, for me, I realize it is part of the process. I do this Nurturing You program, which is over 3 months, and then it has the NVC, the nonviolent communication stuff on the end. Because once your garden is thriving, you can take in any information that's been sitting on your shelf forever, you know, or this new thing that actually is really valuable and applicable. And so I kind of like to get people ready for it. But you know, watching people go through that process was kind of surprising for me. Now it's the second time, and just again seeing that people, this isn't about me, because I created the program from my own experience. It's like so personal. It's so personal. Like, this is something that I kind of intuitively created out of my own personal journey and shared with others, kind of thinking maybe it'll help, and see over and over again. And yes, it does. Like, it's totally applicable to my life. It's changing my life. Is really, you know, just heart and mind opening for me. And to hear that part of the process is accepting some pain and grief around the fact that we've been living with a withered garden for so long. Like, once you actually realize what a thriving life feels like, and that everybody around you is thriving even more, it's what you always wished for. We kind of wish that we had always been like that. And so just to feel that compassionately for yourself, to realize that, for me, it means to realize that I'm moving, this is what I believe for all of us, but for me, I'm moving my generations forward. My mother is a total badass. She's a total badass, and she suffered. And because of it, you know, I have some programming that I wish I did not have. And yet she was able to leap forward in a way, for me, that I'm very grateful for. And, you know, she leapt forward from her grandmother, and my grandmother leapt forward from her mother, and I'm doing so for my mom. And what I'm creating is this thing that says, let's just stop all that, you know, like, let's just go in there and say that if I can focus on myself, and I can, for me, it's about doing that so that my children see that, so that they see that, because I know I'm not going to get out of my programming, but to the degree that I would like to, right? I know that I can't erase all these things that are in me that are affecting my children, you know, like that, and that are affecting my children in really valuable ways. But I really am feeling a lot of relief and feeling this thriving feeling coming from the fact that when you can take care of yourself, all of your 4 children and your partner are going to be thriving from that, and there's relief that comes from that. You know, that they can see that happen, and that they can walk forward into adulthood with this understanding that if I really want to connect with somebody, if I really want to love somebody, if I really want the world to be a better place, if I want these things, these are big, you know, big for me and big for others and big for the world, then I'm important. I matter. I matter so deeply that it's important to care for myself. And what caring for me looks like is just sitting down when I'm feeling overwhelmed and closing my eyes and just being there. And maybe the tears roll down my face, and maybe I'm still nursing Jack, and that's the way it's going to roll. You know what I mean? It's like, but I'm going to be in it. You know. And I just wanted to actually give a little personal tip in there too for self-care, because that Nurturing You program is about helping people. In this book too, that Nurturing You, I call it a mindful self-care guide for women, because, you know, I needed to call it something for somebody. And I know that when I can focus on women, which is most of the people who are coming to me for their partnership, that I've seen that when I focus on women, that their partnership thrives, that their children thrive. That's kind of my focus right now, is on women and mothers, and through that, co-parenting and couples. And this focus on beliefs, really helping mothers and women shift their beliefs. And one of these beliefs is that there's not enough time and I'm not enough. And so it's really important when you sit down on the couch. You know, I have a mantra for myself, because I have a value, the belief that somebody else planted. You know, I talk a lot in Nurturing You about rooting out, uprooting of these beliefs that no longer serve us. It's me. It's a personal thing. And then replanting beliefs that, you know, seeds that I really want to grow. And so one of those things that I talk about is taking out this idea of I'm not enough, and taking out this idea of I don't have enough time and I'm not doing enough, and really a belief that I hold recently is I have time. I have time to sit down right now and just feel the overwhelm and breathe. I have time to breathe. And it's amazing how radical an act sitting down to breathe is. You know, how much...
I didn't do it all day yesterday. I can't remember the last time I've done it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could tell you every time I sat down yesterday, but I didn't sit down with the intention to just, I'm just going to say, I would never give myself that permission to just sit down and not do anything. There's this, for me, this is just me personally, this like feeling that I have to be doing something or it diminishes my worth somehow. Like if I'm not doing something, then I'm not doing anything for my family.
And you're so intuiting on the real focus of the book. This is the whole purpose of the book, is to get up, you know, what I talk about uprooting is shame and guilt and blame and judgment and criticism and analysis and all these things that are so painful for us. You know, just this idea of our worth being wrapped up in what we do. And not simply being worthy for being.
Just for being me.
Because we are. Not even for being you, just for being. You have a worth that is intrinsic in you. You have a value. You know, that's so powerful and meaningful, and to really be able to feel that for yourself. Women start to notice, like, hey, how come when I start doing this for myself, everybody starts doing this for me? My kids are treating me differently. My partner's treating me differently. My whole business is flowing. I'm making more money. You know what I mean? It's like, and it's not even that we value, you know, this isn't about valuing money. This is really about being able to attract into our lives what it is that we really need and want. You know, and so much of our worth is wrapped up in other people. Because we think when we can do good for other people, then that makes us a good person. And so we've really gained that skill of doing for other people. And so there's a real, you know, I actually have this idea of a self-care deficit. If you look it up online, it's like a nursing term, self-care deficit. And they actually have like protocols for self-care deficits. And that's kind of an interesting thing. As a teacher, I kind of wouldn't buy into the deficit model because it's not really valuable to me in the way that I like to connect with learners. But I do think it is this feeling of being in the hole, you know, and this kind of constantly can't get out of the hole. And this is even when there's joy right in front of us, even when there's wonder and just pleasure and everything just right here in front of us, we don't feel any of it. It's so fleeting, it doesn't last. You know, we're not soaking it into our very bones and cells in any way. And so I have this is kind of what I like about the book. I was like, like I said, I do it out of my own thing. Like I don't want a book that sits on somebody's shelf. Like, it's not about reading the book. I'm writing the next part of it where it's women's stories and it's more the science behind it. But this part is the like workout, I call it, instead of a workbook. But you know, it's this. How can you, in a very simple, doable way, make these shifts? Like, it doesn't have to be this hard, lifelong thing. It is a lifelong process to love yourself. It is a lifelong process to connect it in communication, because it's an alive thing. When it's thriving, I mean it's an alive thing. It's going to constantly be about presence. It's not like you can be present today and then a week from now you're good. You can like go offline, you know. I'm
done now.
Yeah, you know, like it when you go offline again, you can come back on and you'll still be, whenever we're present, that's what I like about it, being presence over perfection, is because whenever we are present, it matters. It doesn't matter how many times we do it, it matters. Every time we do it, it matters. And every time we do it, I talk a lot about rewiring our brain, and every time we do that thing, we sit down on the couch and be present, or we look at our children in the eyes just with presence, or we just sit down with our partner and, you know, even just mindlessly, you know, play a game or watch TV or something, there can be something of a conscious presence there that isn't even about the TV, that isn't even about what you're doing with your kid. It's really a feeling that you have. It's an essence of a feeling that you have. Yeah, I hope that's coming across as opposed to a thing that you do.
It is, because I think I'm geared to hearing like this kind of stuff, and then being like, okay, so what do I do?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I think, well, and we're set up in our culture too to want like a pill or or something that's going to be like, what button do I press to make this thing work?
Yeah.
You know, I think we're kind of geared that way, and so what you're talking about, in a way, for me, actually seems easier.
Yeah. I would love that. I just, when you said what button you press, I just saw this little love button. It's like a little heart button.
Well, yeah, well, you said easy earlier, and I was like, oh, yeah, like that easy button. Like that.
Yeah,
Hello.
exactly. In the shape of a heart.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should make those.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Just for me and you.
I know, right? That would be cool if it worked that way.
I liked the idea, though, that you said, like with your mantras, ease and flow. Is that what you said?
Oh, those are my values, yeah.
Or that you say them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like let me give you an example of mindful self-care. So when I say it's doable, I really do mean that it can be as simple as breathing. I like to focus on making things doable because it really is about that essence. So if you think about if mindful self-care could be breathing, it would mean that breathing with consciousness, breathing with mindfulness, breathing with presence, just simply breathing, allowing yourself to breathe. That kind of, you can see how it's very complex. Like it's a really, and then you can go to another level with it, breathing in with intention the things that you want, or breathing out the things that you want to release, and you can really use your breath in a very powerful way that is mindful self-care. But another thing that I do, I talk a lot about rhythms and rituals, and finding these rhythms rather than a schedule, finding a rhythm that feels good. Every family is going to have a different rhythm. Every child has different rhythms, so kind of it's a very dynamic thing. And these rituals are kind of anchors. These are things that ground you, and they can be very small. So breathing can be one, but what I do is mindful self-care that goes back to that ease and flow with values. When I make my tea, I like, when I grew up, sometimes we would go visit my grandmother in India, like maybe a handful of times. But when I would go there, she would make this tea with cardamom, and it's like fresh cardamom, she would ground it up. So that tea, that smell is like very kind of powerful for me, that cardamom smell. So that's kind of how I got the idea. I was like, I think I'll start making that tea. So now it's turned into rooibos because it's more antioxidant and not so acidic and all that kind of stuff. But I just love it. So I ground my cardamom every day. And when I'm grinding this cardamom in my little mortar and pestle, I'll say to myself, with intention, all the things that I want to invite. So often ease and flow will come in there. Or sometimes, like if I just had an argument with my partner, then I might kind of invite connection or empathy, or if I really have something big going on with work that I want to have a lot of focus with, or I want to feel some flow, or I want to feel ease with, I might invite those things in. So, just kind of, I call it infusing the sacred into the daily, like in this tea, infusing into this tea everything that I intend for myself. And I've noticed that over the months of doing that it's shifted into this very flexible thing that feels very alive, and it's a way that I ground myself in my values. So, which is funny because I'm grinding my cardamom, and grounding myself in my values. But
I love it.
I find that it matters.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so much to this, and I wish we had like another hour to talk about just this part, but I love the idea of that, and I'm realizing like I do that, but I do it for special occasions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing it on the daily. I'm doing it at someone's blessing way that I'm doing, or,
Mm-hmm.
at a birth, or
Mm-hmm.
before I go into a birth. But like, again, it's like all on the professional side,
Yeah.
or for someone else,
Mm-hmm.
not for me. And I love the idea of bringing the sacred into my everyday.
Yeah.
That
That you matter.
everyday sacred
You're
in that
special.
special, damn it. and living that way, I love the idea of that. I've given myself permission to treat myself in a sacred manner, and not just for special occasions, but just because I'm alive today.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I'm just because.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because
You're
I'm so
alive
much
today. I love that. Just because I'm alive today. I love that so much. Because one of the things, like I said, presence doesn't come naturally to me, I would say. Now it's more natural, but it didn't come easily as a thing. Um, and I do find a lot of joy just being able to feel these moments, these little moments. Like today when my 4-year-old put her arms around my neck when I was helping her with her underwear, which she can do herself. So I know that it's like, how many times will I get to feel that? Like how many times will I feel that? So that's really, like, that is everything to me. My ability to feel that joy from that feeling, to really be present to that, is more valuable to me than money to some people. Like that.
So
That,
crazy
yeah.
that you said that. That was my only moment yesterday, that I can remember clearly. Joe Dispenza, I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's I don't even know what his credentials are. I think he's like a neurologist. He does something with the brain, but he did this great talk about what you remember, like with your head and your heart. And he said, if you talk to somebody about 9/11, you ask them um, where they were, who else was in the room with them, like they can describe in detail everything about that day, because something happened in their heart and their mind,
Mm-hmm.
which allowed for them to have better recall of it.
Yeah.
And um, I'm only emotional because yesterday, the one thing that I can remember with absolute clarity, like the smell in the room and just everything, the warmth, everything about that moment, was when I was helping Uma get dressed and putting her underwear on.
That's
And
my Uma.
yeah, and she put her little soft hands. She's got the squishiest little. She's just so squishy all over it. She's 8 years old, but so tiny and squishy. And she put her little hands on my shoulder,
Yeah.
and she put her face up next to mine. It was such an intimate thing. I'm like, I'm just putting underwear on a kid, and I chose to be present in that moment. I chose to enjoy it, and I remember thinking to myself, like, wonder how long I'll need to help her with this, and then being conscious of myself, thinking how happy I was about that, and knowing that she'll most likely be with us for the rest of our lives, and how cool I am with that, because I'm like, I get to keep one of them forever. And just everything about that moment. And right when I was feeling like all the feelings, she put her face next to my face, and she just real quietly in her little Uma voice said, "I love you, Mama." And I just like my heart like exploded. It was so rad. And I
Literally.
can't tell you
Mm-hmm.
about the rest of my day, really. I cleaned the house. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like I can tell you some things, but
Yeah.
not with that clarity, not with that and when you were
Mm-hmm.
saying that just now, I'm like, oh, I want that all the time, or at least more.
More, right?
More of that.
More.
More,
Mm-hmm.
please.
Yeah. Those body memories. I call them body memories that you can call up, and this is kind of where the overwhelm comes, where if you have, and some people don't realize it, but if you have a tendency towards perfection, then you want to do it all the time, and it's not good enough unless you do it all the time. The real focus is on, if you were to do one memory a day, like that memory, and another memory today and another memory tomorrow, the richness that you would have, it'd be so valuable. It isn't even about quantity so much as just that feeling. What happens is when you have one memory like that, you feel what joy feels like. And when you need to call up joy, you can call up a body memory. This is important.
So the other day I was reading, this is so perfect, like, I don't know, I'm so glad you're in my life. The other day I was reading, is it like darn it, Gina, I'm such a breastfeeding brain right now. 3 Martini Playdate. I don't know, it's an old book. I think it's 2 or 3. I don't know. Maybe I want it to be 3 Martini Playdate. But in the book, it's hysterically funny. It's I'm glad I'm rereading it now. I read it with my first pregnancy, and now I'm rereading it with Jack. And it's still hysterically funny. It's great. And she talks about going to a play that her kid was in, and she's like, I went to like make eye contact with somebody else in the audience, like isn't this cute? And I couldn't make eye contact with anybody because everybody had their phones in front of their faces, filming, what was going on. And she's like, no, I'll remember this. I'll have a memory of this, and how people feel guilty, like, or felt sorry for her because she didn't bring her video camcorder. That's how old this book is, and that she's like, I don't feel the need to do that. That I'll have memories. And in my mind, I remember thinking that 11 years ago now, reading it, going, how can you remember all of those things when you want to record them? And for me now, like in this moment, this epiphany that I'm having with you, I'm thinking I wouldn't need to if I was present for all those memories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I was really, really present in that moment, then I wouldn't need a camcorder. I wouldn't need to press record because I would be doing it just by being present.
Yeah.
That's a big deal to me right now.
It's so huge. It's so huge. We're being told as parents to capture everything and to really be, so grateful for everything, and everything's so fleeting, and to soak it all up, and that's it's such a takes effort, takes real intention to do that, and what we usually go to is like recording it all, taking all these pictures and making sure that we can see it again, and it's kind of
I'm
funny.
only laughing. Are you familiar with George Lopez?
The comedian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to make myself laugh, where he talks about the Mexican nanny who was with the baby when he took his first steps, and the mom said, "Did you videotape it?" She's like, "Nah, I'll remember." Cracks me. I'll remember. Don't worry.
That is so funny.
It cracks me
If
up.
only it could work that way, that would be so awesome.
But yeah,
really
I needed that.
But I have felt a lot of pressure to take a lot of pictures that I can remember, and it's so sad because I'll probably forget, and I do forget so many things. What's interesting is that, I said this isn't really like an easy thing for me. These things that I like to share with people are things that take a lot of work on my part. That what I'm finding is when I'm more present, it's okay for me to forget, because it's not. I mean, our memories are just our perception of whatever anyway. So, the real point is like what is the purpose of the memory in the first place? Like, what is the real essence of the thing we're trying to get? Like I said, joy or togetherness or those feelings. Those feelings are the things that those are the memories. Is the feeling, the essence of the feeling. And so that's felt very freeing to me. Not only do I not need to capture all these moments physically, on film or something like that, that it doesn't, I'm not being present either, so I can remember them. I do remember them more because they are body memories, but it's kind of freeing to not use that perfection in me to, and it's not like I would ever think I'm a perfectionist. I'm pretty laid back, honest to goodness, but it's been a real revelation for me to see that's kind of a quality that leads to me not being present and taking more pictures, say, is this need to kind of want to capture everything. And when I can let that go and realize it when I create these body memories that whether I remember mentally or not does not matter, my body knows what love feels like.
Mm.
You know? And that makes me a healthier person, that my body knows what love feels like. It comes out of my pores and out of my being. So that's kind of a big shift in vision for me.
My body knows what love feels like. It's almost too beautiful.
And you felt that. I mean, you have those pictures where you can, I don't even know how you do them so quickly, but you write the little thing on there where you're like, I have stuff to do, I just can't. I'm so in love. Like that, that's what love feels like. And your body knows that. Like, stay here. Your body says, stay here and look.
Oh, like every part of my body. I was writing that. Like when I was writing that, like I started lactating. Dear Lord.
It's so fun. Yeah, you have like a real hormonal reaction to it too.
My body knows what love feels like, for sure.
Yeah.
As
and that sitting, to bring that into the connected communication piece, this is kind of the tie-in. So when I feel that, which is all personal, this has all been personal choice to make the intention that we've been talking about, that leads to that feeling of love in my body. And then when I go to connect and communicate to my partner, I have that much more love to give. I have that much more empathy. I know what love feels like, so I can share that. I know what empathy feels like because I just gave it to myself when I was feeling overwhelmed on the couch. And so I can give that to my partner, and there's a cycle of thriving. It doesn't seem to matter as much when he has any issues, or it doesn't seem to matter as much what he or my kids or anybody else does. It really feels enough. I feel like enough to myself.
I love this. I love all of this. Our chat room, someone said something 20 minutes ago. She said, I feel like a lazy mother, and I'd like to address that really quickly. Also, before we do, though, someone said, wow, ladies, wow, tears are flowing, but what an amazing conversation. I feel like I'm sitting down to coffee with brilliant women.
Oh,
like, definitely sitting down to coffee with women who care about you. So, how about this idea of, I feel like a lazy mother?
Mm-hmm.
How often do we beat ourselves up as moms?
I'm guessing that came up when we were talking about doing over being, because laziness is judgment, right? Where does the judgment come from? Is some kind of belief about what good enough means and what it is, and what it look. There's a measurement in there of some sort, and maybe she doesn't even know what that is, and that's part of the pain. When is it good enough? When are you not lazy? At what point will it be that you could say, I'm not lazy? And see, when you think about it that way, you're like, I don't freaking know. There's no limit. It's infinite. So then you start to expose it, right? You realize it's not a thing that's real. It's a belief. And so, that's kind of what the book is about. It's like going in very casually, actually. The book is very spacious. It's not like dense. It's not a lot of words or anything. It's just, it's really an encouragement for people to, for this mom to go and just think. Now she knows. She said it. I've said this. She can go throughout her day, and every time she has that thought of laziness, just wonder, where is that coming from? What is that belief? And every time she stops, she gets to form a pathway with this new belief, whatever that is. If she doesn't want to believe she's a lazy mom, because she's not, what would she like to believe? What is actually really true? that she works damn hard for her kids, that she loves these kids with her actual effort every day. You know, whatever that thing is. And every time she would stop and say, whoa, there's that lazy chatter again.
Be curious about it.
Yeah, with a curiosity, exactly. And with a lot of compassion. That laziness is something, you know, there's a purpose behind that judge. It's probably trying to push her to care for other people more. It's probably trying to push her to care for other people more so that she can feel more worthy. And it's probably trying to want to feel more worthy because that feels really good. It's what, you know, she wants. And so if she can just give that worthiness to herself without having to do all that stuff that's causing probably a lot of disruption. It leads to a depletion in rest and in hydration and in nutrition and in well-being overall. You know, like, drink up. It's like, you know, that she can start being conscious. You know, she can start really realizing that feeling of lazy mom is a label that came from somewhere that's not of her choosing. She can choose something else.
Choose something else. Oh, I'll leave it there because we're out of time. I could talk to you all day long, Sheila Pai. So much for what you do. So this book, I want this book. How come I haven't read this book yet? How do we get
I had
your
a
book?
sneak peek out there. I know. I'm almost, so it's going to come out on September 1st, but I have a sneak peek out right now. I think I shared that link with you so we can get that out to people. But, and I'm really excited about it. On September 1st, it's going to be out in print for people to buy or digitally so that they can actually, it comes with guided meditations, so you can just click on those and listen if you get it digitally. But in September 15th through the 28th, I'm going to do a Nurturing You virtual retreat, and going to be talking just like you do with other people who, you know, have something to share about non-traditional self-care, mindful self-care, and really allowing women to kind of have 2 weeks of little golden nuggets to take home, just enjoy and soak up. So lots of goodies and things. I'm going to do a Nurturing You care package giveaway, so I'm really excited about that. Really excited.
Where can people find out more about the retreat and all that good stuff? What's your website?
SheilaPai.com. So
well, that's too easy.
Yeah.
And it's Pai.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not delicious, Sheila Pai.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it.
Oh, he fell asleep again, sweetie. Well, I'm so glad to talk with you and to share this with other people. I'm really passionate about creating these thriving families. So it starts with you, each one of you. So thank you.
Thank you so much. I always learn something every single time I talk to you, whether it's in a text or on one of these things. Thank you so much.
Goodness. Oh, much love.
We'll talk to you soon. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Please, I'm encouraging you to look around the website here on progressiveparentingnetwork.com. Do you see all these people? All these people in the network are somebody that I respect and admire very much, and they are here to share their knowledge with you. We have free courses. We have courses on everything from conception and on. We're going to be adding more and more stuff all the time. Right now we have some great courses from Jennifer Tao, from Joe Valley and Sheila Pai, and more. There's always going to be new stuff that we're adding. If you have any ideas for things that you would like us to add, courses that you would like us to have on there, please email us at progressiveparentingradio@gmail.com. And until next time, you guys, take care of yourselves and take care of each other.
Thank you.